For nearly 2,000 years, one claim has shaped the identity of Western Christianity. The Apostle Peter went to Rome. But did he really? The New Testament is silent. The archaeology is seemingly uncertain. And yet, from the first centuries of the faith, Christians have insisted that Peter not only reached the imperial capital, but died there. The first mention of Peter in Rome comes from a letter written in between 170 and 180 AD. A Christian deacon named Gaius describes the wonders of Rome, and among them, something extraordinary, a tropeion, marking the spot where Peter established the church. This was no ordinary shrine. A tropeion was a victory monument, standing in a cemetery on Vatican Hill. Early pilgrims believed it marked Peter's burial place, and centuries later, St. Peter's Basilica would rise directly above it. At the same time, apocryphal accounts like the Acts of Peter placed the apostle in the city. One story retells him meeting Christ here on the Via Appia, one of the earliest and most strategically important Roman roads of Italy. And whilst there is now a church built on the site, the lack of evidence suggests that this is most likely a legend. But in many cases, legends often grow around something real. And yet, even with these first few clues, the Bible itself gives no explicit mention of Peter traveling to Empire's capital. In fact, when the Gospels end, Peter is in Jerusalem, and in Acts, he remains in the east, as Paul discusses meeting Peter in places like Antioch, but never Rome. By all accounts, this is probably not all that surprising. After all, Peter was a Galilean fisherman, a man of Aramaic, not Greek or Latin. He was hardly the archetype of a cosmopolitan missionary. However, some scholars see a subtle hint in 1 Peter 5:13, where the apostle writes from Babylon. In early Christian symbolism, it was often believed that Babylon symbolized Rome, the empire's morale and political center. If so, the letter places Peter in the capital, but like so much else in this investigation, it is suggestive, not definitive. Many argue that the best evidence comes from early Christian tradition. For example, Irenaeus of Lyon said that Peter and Paul were laying the foundations of the church in Rome, while Clement of Alexandria commented that Peter preached openly in Rome, inspiring Mark to write his gospel. To top this off, Tertullian, Origen, and Dionysius of Corinth all link Peter's martyrdom to the reign of Emperor Nero. But this is not the only thing. At the catacombs of San Sebastiano, on the Via Appia of all places, archaeologists uncovered nearly 600 early medieval graffiti, prayers addressed to Peter and Paul by pilgrims who were convinced the apostles were honored there. Another memory of Peter in Rome that is independent of the Vatican site. So, did Peter go to Rome? The evidence is not absolute. There is no diary, no inscription on his grave, and some of the archaeological puzzles remain unsolved. But when all the fragments are gathered, the tropeion, the traditions, the early testimonies, the coded references, the martyrdom accounts, the bigger picture begins to appear. It is highly likely that Peter's remarkable journey did not end on the shores of his native Galilee, but in the shadow of the eternal city.